Here's the exact speech strategy I would give anyone who freezes on stage. Now, this is going to be a longer video where I'll give you the exact guide on how to deal with nerves right before you speak, how to write your speeches to prevent freezing, and worst case scenario, if you do freeze in the moment, I'll tell you or give you a little bit of a rule of thumb to guide you in those moments and turn things around. So let's begin. Oh, and by the way, who am I? Hi, I'm Luca. I'm 18 years old. I'm a first year med student in Cape Town, and I make public speaking videos because I really like it. I've said some speeches in competitions, I've won, got some standing ovations, boring, blah, 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 whatever. Let's go. Public speaking strategy 4, handling the nerves. Okay, so when we have nerves before a speech, there's largely 3 things we can do. And before, let me just get into it, okay? So the very important thing which I want to put at the top is entering a state of play. The reason that is at the top, for me at least, is because when I used to compete a bit more in public speaking competitions, I always had one of my buddies come with me. A very good friend of mine, never competing in the competitions themselves. He wasn't a speaker, in other words, but he was just my very good friend. So he'd always come along with me. And before I ever had to speak or present, I'd never be in the venue listening to anyone else say their speech. This isn't out of disrespect for them, but rather respect for myself. Because I knew that just by me listening to them, just by me sitting there and overthinking everything and analyzing the crowd, seeing if they're laughing and whatnot, that was being a lot more, that was simply being destructive for me. I gained nothing from that. So me and my friend and I, we'd always leave the venue and just be outside, laughing, playing, jumping around, chatting smack, singing, dancing, as if it was a lunch break, as if we were 2 little meerkat or hyena pups and just jumping around and playing and biting each other by the bottom. Does that make sense? So very, very playful. And the reason this works so well is because when we get nervous before we speak or present, we have a buildup in adrenaline. So when we're nervous and we go and we have to speak, we start moving around left and right, or when we record a YouTube video, we start saying things we don't usually say, or we start blanking and the pressure adds up, and then we start moving left to right, and then our hands are in our pockets and we're scrunching up, the tissue we have in there, and we're just moving around and we're very anxious and nervous and we don't know what to do, right? So we kind of have to get rid of all that energy, that adrenaline, that movement, because firstly, if we have too much adrenaline, we will forget what we have prepared, okay? If we have too much adrenaline and we're just moving around, we are not in control. We want to control our movement and control the words we say the most we can, right? Too much adrenaline, we forget what we want to say and we can't control our body the way we want to. Bad. So how do we get rid of that? State of play. Do jumping jacks, jump around, dance, play, sing, move around, like just do jumping jacks, push-ups or something. Get rid of it. For me, it would literally be hitting what dance is this? The tango, the samba. Oh yeah, oh yeah. And just laughing around and like being a kid, okay? Be a child. Literally. And then when we would hear that, hey, Luca, you're up next, I would transition from this state of freedom and comfort and being with my friend, this good, positive, feel good vibe. And I would transition directly into what? The speaking arena, the stage, the podium, the microphone. So transition from the freedom into this, speaking arena. And when you have that strong and that rapid and that quick of a contrast and change in environment from that state of play, that freedom, directly into the arena, that's good because your body almost doesn't process that quick enough. So immediately I go into the situation to speak, and I still have that same energy that I had with my friend. I still have that same smile. I still have that same feel good feeling. I still assume that the audience is positive based on my audience right before, which was just my one friend, him and I joking, him hyping me up, saying, yo, that speech is killer, bro. Does that make sense? So we're carrying that through right into the arena of speaking. Now, not everyone has their friend with them right before they have a public speaking competition. Maybe you don't have friends like me right now. Maybe you just have your phone. Maybe you like a song. Maybe you have earphones. Maybe you don't have a private room to leave before you speak, right? Literally just smile. Literally just hum a song you like. Dance for me, dance for me, dance for me. Hey, hey. You get the idea. Hum, smile if you can. Try and create this that state of play in your mind to the best of your ability. Okay. If you can leave, by all means, do leave the venue. Do jumping jacks behind the curtain. Do a push-up or two if you're a bit more rogue. Laugh with your friend. Dance to the samba or move a little, sing a little. You just smile a little. Get into that state of play. Get rid of the adrenaline and get in that zone of just freedom, playtime, positive, feel good, sing along in the shower energy. Does that make sense? Next up, what we can do. This one is a bit more wishy-washy for more, I guess, for all the competent Westerners out there. But what I'm going to go into is something called affirmations. It's worked for me. I used it, and that's why I'm putting it here. Okay, try it out if you want to. If not, no hard feelings. The third point might be for you. There's two affirmations which I really, really liked. And I'll explain both of them before you clown me for them. It is, I am the tribe leader. And before you object and you click off this video and you say, what is this manosphere red pill Andrew Tate nonsense? Look, if we go back to some primal instinct, to the primal days when we were, I don't know, crude cavemen, when we were to stand before 2,000 eyeballs, 1,000 people staring at us, well, 999, and then one Cyclops for 9. Okay, whatever, you get whatever. I don't know what I was getting at with that joke, but if we were to ever stand before that many people, 1,000 people, 2,000 eyeballs on us, it's either we were in trouble with the tribe, right? So the tribe leader was pointing us out. Hey, look at this thief. Look at this asshole. Look at this Barry Steeler, right? Everyone, look at this guy. So we have to stand before the tribe so they can all look at us and identify us as threat, enemy, not friend, Barry Steeler, bad. Or either we were the thief or we were the tribe leader. And we were saying, everyone, listen, ape, weak, together, strong. You know what I'm saying? So it's either we are this thief archetype or we are this tribe leader archetype. And so I found it very beneficial for me whenever I've been sitting on the stage, for example, and the master of ceremony is about to introduce me as this guest speaker. And I do feel nervous. I've always just affirmed to myself that I'm the tribe leader. I'm not the thief. In this situation, I'm the tribe leader. I'm meant to be here to speak. They are meant to sit there to listen to me. I am meant to have all the attention on me for these next 5 to 10 minutes or 30 minutes or however long it is. Affirm to yourself that you are that archetype, the tribe leader archetype, and not the thief. Next up, I am going to be okay. Again, wishy-washy, maybe, let's find out. Because when we say a speech, there's basically two outcomes, right? It's either a W, we win, or an L, we lose, or a lesson rather. this is obviously the desirable outcome, right? We obviously want to win, but it's only once we can be at peace with the undesirable outcome, right? The unfavorable loss. It's only once we can look and put ourselves in the shoes of that, that Luca in that outcome, right? So even if I do mess this up, even if I do look stupid, even if I don't get this position that I want in this interview, even if I don't, meet the investor I'm looking for in this pitch, I'm going to be okay. Even if it goes horribly wrong and I essentially lose and I fail and we get the undesirable outcome, I'm still going to be fine. I'm still going to go home to some decent food. I'm still going to be okay. I'll still be the same me. I can honestly live with that. All right. I believe in myself enough to move forward from there. It's only once we are at peace with that undesirable outcome that we can truly be free and pursue victory with freedom, and to speak freely, and to say the words of our choice, to smile, to laugh at what we find funny, to cry for what we find heartbreaking, to just to speak, man. Does that make sense? So when I used to play tennis a bit more competitively, I come up against an opponent which I'm slightly higher ranked. On paper, I should win, essentially. And so I'd always feel a bit more pressure to now I actually have to win. But it's only once I imagine what would happen if I lose. What would happen if I look pretty dumb? My coach might get a little mad at me. I'll probably feel crappy. I would have just wasted like 2 hours in the sun, burnt a little, that kind of sucks. But at the end of bottom line, I'll still be fine. I'll still go back and I'll still train and I'll still get better and I'll be back, So it's only once I'm at peace with me losing to someone I guess I should beat that I can truly play freely, that I can actually, go through with my game plan, follow through my shots, and just play well and win. So that's what I'm getting at with this. I'm going to be okay. So that even if we do, totally mess this up and cannonball and all the water goes out the pool, we're still going to be okay. So I've used both of these affirmations. I've used more of the I'm going to be okay one in recent times and the tribe leader one. That was kind of in the start. That was me. I want to be a leader. I want to be JFK. I want to be Martin Luther King Jr., But now it's kind of just like, I'm going to be okay. I'm just here to say my stuff and say my words. And it's not for everyone, but I'll still be fine if it goes down south, And then the third one is a very important concept I've stressed a lot on this YouTube channel of mine. Of ours, how's that for camaraderie? Is that the internal essentially follows. So I'll put like a leash there on the internal. The external. What I mean by that is that oftentimes before a speech or presentation or interview, we might get very nervous. Other internal emotions which we feel. We get nervous, we get anxious, we get, fearful, we feel some fear. We start thinking, some feelings of inadequacy. Let me just remember how to spell that was a very bad word because I don't know how to spell it. Inadequacy. You kind of get the idea. Am I good enough? Will the crowd like me? We get all these different internal feelings, emotions. And we make the mistake of trying to go and address it directly. We try to go and say, okay, we'll just, feel confident. Just, I'm brave, I'm a man, yeah. Yeah, I'm confident. Deep breath in, feel your nuts, and yeah, you're a man, let's go, bro. Or if you're a girl, you got some kahunas, put the blazer on, I'm a boss babe, let's go, let's just do it. But it doesn't work like that. Essentially, we have in our minds, when we think of a confident speaker, when we imagine this confident leader, speaker, eloquent, whatever archetype that we want to be like, it's slightly different for everyone, but there are some objective external behavioral traits we can replicate. When we think of that, close your eyes, think about it, see it. There are some common behavioral traits, okay, some common external observations we can make. They have strong body language. They have open torso. They have open palms. They have warmth, which largely just refers to a smile. They have forward movement. Okay. So if we can just control a few of the controllables, if we can do our best to externally align as much as we can with that archetype that we see, that confident, eloquent, captivating leader-like speaker, which we want to be, I'm assuming. If we can close our eyes and try our very best to make sure that our behavior aligns with that archetype, we're essentially succeeding. So what I mean by strong body language, they have just upright posture, relatively confident. They're not hunched over. They don't have, they're not oppressed or suppressed. They're not, hi, good morning, I'm Luca, and here's some stuff I want to share with you. They're upright. They're relatively confident. This just signals confidence. Straight neck, straight spine. Yes. Open torso. I mean, when you open the speech, your hands are out to the side like this. You have your torso revealed. You have open palms. Your palms are out like this. Forward movement and a smile. You basically just want to replicate this. So strong posture, arms out, palms out, warm smile, forward movement. Good morning. I'm Luca. When I was 7 years old, I ate a banana split, but there was one problem. It wasn't banana and it wasn't a split. Dun, dun, dun. What does that mean? I have no idea. I just made it up. But you get the idea. We want forward movement, palms out like this, and a warm smile. Hi, I'm Luca. This is who I am and what I stand for and what I believe in. This is what, makes me scared at night, the dark and the monsters under the bed. So it's with that external appearance, that attempt to align externally with that archetype, changing our behavior to align with certain character, that the internal follows. And the reason it follows is largely because it's reinforced by the audience. The audience can only see the external. They cannot see the internal. So by us going and just showing them the best, almost like some social media kind of dynamic, us showing them the best possible version of us we can, in terms of body language, our warmth, our behavior, our character, they then start nodding back. They start showing warmth back. They start laughing at our jokes back. They start listening and accepting that, hey, this guy is actually a confident speaker because, well, he looks the part. He ticks the boxes, which we're so used to, right? So by us aligning with that character of a confident speaker externally, in terms of our behavior and our body language and our hands and our facial expressions, our internal emotions then follow. So it's only once we're externally confident that we are then internally confident. Does that make sense? So the nerves might still be there, but as long as we tick this box, then the audience box also then gets ticked because, hey, this guy's actually pretty confident. Once we have 2 out of those 3, the internal then starts slowly shifting and aligning with our external. So we're first taking our external behavior, aligning it with that archetype, and only then does our internal align with the external, slowly but surely. So that is largely how we deal with our nerves right before we present. It might be a bit simplified and subjective to me, but this is what I've learned through books, through lectures, through my personal experience, through trial and error. And I hope I can save you some time, and you don't have to go and learn through trial and error, but rather you can just take these few things, apply it to your context, your situation, and see if it works for you. If these affirmations don't work for you, that's totally fine. State of play doesn't work for you, that's totally fine. Maybe this one just is a really nice guiding northern star, which you can use every now and then when you feel nervous and helps you feel better and speak better. If only that one works for you, that's cool. But this is what I do, and I hope you can get some value from it. So let's move on to the next section of this video, which is, I don't know. Let me look at the laptop. The writing part. Okay, thank you, Mr. Laptop. writing part is very cool because in a lot of these videos online and the Instagram reels you see, it's often just the speaking part, right? Everyone just talks about body language. Everyone just talks about this mental aspect, and here's this trick, this habit, this gimmick you can do to just change your life. But bottom line is writing is important. Like if you don't know how to write your speech well, if you don't know a good structure for stories, a good structure like Roman rhetoric to guide the words that you're saying, your words are not going to land, regardless of your body language or your anything for that matter. So let's talk about writing. Minor voice crack. I hope you didn't notice that. Pick that up. Ooh, pick that up. I just dropped my pencil and I picked it up. I like to dance. I like to hip it up. I play soccer and I kick it up. I like tea, you know, I sip it up. They disrespect me, they're giving me lipping up. Ooh. When I go to a restaurant, you know, I tip it up. Okay. So, part 2, writing. I want to give you 2 little nuggets here. Well, the bars of gold, that is. When we write, I just want to give you a very, like, literally tell stories. And I'll tell you why, because it links into this point. But literally just say stories. The reason that is because stories take off so much weight off of your shoulders. What I mean by weight is when we have a massive speech like this, a whole page to remember, right? That puts a lot of mental pressure on us. Okay. Mental pressure to remember it, to memorize it, to remember the words, to remember where to pause, to remember the humor, the joke, this line, that line. What did I actually mean by that? Oh yeah, that one. Okay. Loads of mental pressure. And then when we have to now go and speak behind a podium with a microphone, there's us faking a smile. There's a lot of pressure in that moment. There's external pressure. There's pressure from the crowd. There's pressure of the moment. Hey, this is only one chance. You better own it to never let it go. Whoa, you better lose yourself in the moment. Okay. There's cameras. There's flashing lights. There's a bunch of people. There's a bunch of eyeballs. There's some cute girls in the crowd. There's some cute guys in the crowd if you swing that way. There is all kinds of stuff. External pressure. There's a boss you have to impress. There's a role you need. There's a board of directors you have to prove to that you're competent for the role. There is a bunch of people who are smarter than you, who are, you know, supposedly judging your every word and every step and every breath. Loads of external pressure. Combining that with the mental pressure of the speech, it's not working, it's not helping. You blank, you freeze, and you crash and die and burn, and everything goes horribly wrong. So what we want to do is we want to slightly alleviate, take a bit of that mental pressure off of our shoulders, okay? And the way we do that is simply just by having less stuff to remember. And the way we do that is through stories. It's because when you have a story, you've already lived it, you've already maybe told it, shared it before. If you haven't, you just have to, like when you write the speech, you have the story kind of structured and the timeline of events planned out in your head. So if someone would say, oh, Luca, tell me that story about the time you got rejected on Valentine's Day in elementary school. I don't, need some script. I've already said it before. I've shared it before. I've lived it. I've retold. Like, I know what the story is, right? So I can just say it now. Oh yeah, I woke up one day feeling like the man. I was about to go ask this girl I like to be my Valentine's. She didn't go to plan. She rejected me. She said, Luca, you're kind of fat. The day sucked. Blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. I don't have to go and memorize anything. Maybe, yeah, I need to go and just sharpen up. Oh yeah, what was the punchline to that joke again? Oh yeah. What was the realization at the end? Oh, okay, yeah. That makes sense. Little things like that. But stories are incredible because it just takes a lot of that mental pressure off of us. And the real point I'm getting at is something I call the bridge method. So the reason we often find ourselves memorizing a whole script or entire speech like this is because we don't know what's important. It's kind of like we're studying and we just go and highlight the whole page. Because in essence, we don't know what's important about the page, right? But if we know, oh, okay, oh, that little vulva is important for the heart because it bypasses the lungs. That little section there is important because, oh, it bypasses the liver. That section there is important because it bypasses that. You know what I'm saying? There's only like 3 things you have to remember now. But because we know that those 3 things are important, we can just go and highlight those 3 sentences. So in our speech, there's probably like 3 to 5 really important parts. If we tell a story, it'll be the ending. It'll be the realization of that story. If we, in the middle, there might be another lesson. And at the end, there might be a really strong quote, which we want to say, right? We just have to go and memorize. So that would obviously be the first point, the second point, and the third point. These points represent that, okay, the important parts. You only have to really know the 3 really important points, and then just simply go and bridge them all with your natural IQ or speaking ability, okay? And it's kind of like a video game, right? You know when you fight a boss and you have this little scrawny little pistol, but then it's this big monster, they give you critical points to aim at, right? Like if you shoot the eye, it does double damage. If you shoot, and then it changes. Then if you shoot the neck, it does double damage or something, right? So these are like our critical points in speech. If we can just say our story and get the ending really good, double damage, baby. If we can just say, you know, this line here in the start, this realization I had really well, triple damage. If we can end off really strongly with chiasmus or some strong quote which we made, quadruple damage, you know what I'm saying? So we just get an even stronger and greater effect. So what I'm getting at is we'll have the realization at the end of our story there. We'll have another little bar there, and then we'll have like a quote which we want to end with, okay? We use our natural bullet points and speaking ability to just link all those points together. And what this ends, okay, so it's a story about Valentine's Day, right? I'll probably just put V-Day, teddy bear, rejection. And I instantly know what story to tell, just with those points. And then that leads me to love, firework, candle. Oh, I realized love isn't this verb. It isn't a noun, it's a verb. Love isn't this big firework that lights up the sky. It's a tiny candle that lights up your heart. You know, and then another bullet point to blah, 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 to guide me. Guacamole, I love guacamole. And then quote, you know, in that moment I realized that, you know, now at the end I realize that to love or not to love, you know, something like that. And what ends up happening here is we only really need to remember and memorize 3, 4, 5 important lines. And then with us, we just have a few points to guide us along that path. Does that make sense? It's like a long path at night, and there's just street lamps that illuminate the path just enough so we can walk towards the light. And then there's a lamppost, and then just enough light to get to the next one, just enough light to get to the next one. What ends up happening is our natural speaking ability shines through. We just start speaking the same conversational way we would normally. And people can connect to that. We can then speak to our audience. We can speak to the right people. We start getting our natural humor out, our natural jokes out, our natural authenticity and personality out. And people like that. The right people like that. The right people can connect to that. Also, when we go and memorize a bunch of stuff, it just completely blocks out all our natural personality and our natural humor and our jokes, because it's all planned and nothing is really us. So by having these bullet points, we can truly speak. It's not just some prepared version of us from a week ago or the night before most of the time, who's nervous and who has to just memorize some stuff to sound like a professional, okay? Finally, we can just speak. Does that make sense? And then out of nowhere, so we'll just be speaking all conversationally chill. Then out of nowhere, we'll just have poof, 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 a diamond, some incredibly well-constructed, well-thought out, line, which sounds like modern poetry. Does that make sense? So that's the part that we actually memorize. In that moment, I realized love isn't this big firework that lights up the sky. It's a tiny candle that lights up your heart. And people will be like, yo, Luca, how did you think of that, bro? That's insane. That's Shakespeare stuff. And then it's like, I don't know, I'm just speaking conversationally again. And then boom, diamond. Conversationally again. And then boom, diamond. And what that does is it just makes it sound really, really good. It makes it sound like, hey, this guy's just talking casually, just being himself. And he has the competence and intellect and IQ to just randomly say something amazing. He's just naturally a good speaker. She's just naturally very eloquent. They're just good at this stuff. I don't know how. No, it's just we changed the way we prepared. We use the bridge method. And so we don't have to go and memorize everything. There's a lot less mental pressure on us to go and, memorize an entire script. So we can speak truly and freely and just authentically. And then the strong parts get highlighted even more. And we can just be ourselves and connect with the right people. So that is how we do it. Tell stories as well, less mental pressure, less blanking, more enjoyment, smiling, success, cool beans. Now, let's move on to the third part of this video, which is just very, very brief. And that is, if you are speaking, everything's going well, you're into the state of play, you're using this bridge method, but still, the bad guys get you, bro. You freeze, something happens, someone's phone goes off. What do? I was once saying a public speaking competition, at a speech at a competition. And it was the finals, prepared speech section. And the judge's phone goes off. Someone's calling her. That's comedy. That's comical. Like, you can't make this stuff up, right? The judge, who's supposed to be the person in the right, who reminded the audience to turn their phones off, the person who's supposed to be, on my side, who's going to help me get across the finish line because they love my speech, because I'm trying to connect to them, they're now against me on my side. When their phone went off, all I did was simply I went quiet. I didn't try and go and speak over it. I didn't try and, do anything funny. Literally just stop, just pause. And there have been times where I'm saying a speech and I'm saying a story and I forget a little what happens and I blank in that moment. You never want to say yeah. What you want to do is you literally just pause. And that just makes it sound like you're thinking. If you can play it off the right way, you come across as very, very intentional. You don't come across as, hey, this guy just forgot what he was saying, bro. I was watching some Toastmasters videos, trying to analyze some speeches, and this guy's speech was going incredibly well. He's telling this story about how he went to some dance class by accident, and then it turns out that's his wife. Like a couple years later, it only takes two to tango or something like that. And I was really loving it. And then he kind of just he gave up the act. He messed up somewhere. I didn't even notice or realize. And he just said, "Oh, I've said this speech so many times and I failed you all. I'm incredibly sorry." And I was like, "Well, what? Like, this part of the script, bro?" And then I figured, like, oh, he's like forfeiting. He's throwing in the white towel. Never ever give up. Never ever admit you messed up. Deny, deny, deny. Does that make sense? Go quiet if you have to. Freeze. Put that thing in the freezer if it's going to go bad. You know what I'm saying? Just stand there and soak it in. It only takes two to tango. My wife was that teacher. Maybe you skip some parts, maybe you skip some lines. No one knows. No one knows what's supposed to come next. Literally, deny, deny, deny. Never ever own your mistake. Never ever accept that you froze. Never give up. Never say never apologize to these schmucks in the crowd. Never say, oh, I'm sorry, I just lost my place. You know? If I once had to say a speech and I started crying near the end, I never said, oh, I'm sorry. I literally just stood there, regained my breath, overcame the frog in my throat, and moved on. Pause, own the silence, and take it. That's very, very intentional. And no one can really deny that or rob you of that. Afterwards, once you've moved on, they can be like, yo, what was that long pause? And you can be like, oh, yeah, I kind of lost my place. It's like, oh, that's okay, bro. We didn't even realize that speech was killer. That's always the way it happens, But if you go, yo, I kind of, oh, yeah, okay. Valentine's Day kind of sucks. You just have to stand there and become very comfortable with this uncomfortable quiet. Does that make sense? I did it wrong there. I said, oh, instead of just going blank. But I also want to point out that for us, the way time flows in a speech is so skewed to how it really does for the audience. Because, when we're standing there, 2 seconds of silence might feel like forever, but it's really not. It's literally just 2 seconds. And so I'm saying 5 seconds of silence can really help you breathe, recoup, get the idea, look at your speech a bit, find your place again, and keep going. So if you do ever mess up, if you do ever freeze and stumble, don't own it, deny it, and in a sense, embrace that silence as you try and find your place again. That's been the video. I've been Luca. I hope you got some value from this. If you have any questions, please do feel free to ask me in the comments, or check the link in the description for some free personalized advice, because I don't know, it's cool. And yeah, bye.